live. No. Good evening, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I've been having some trouble trying to go live, but we're here. Welcome. Today is Monday, or we call it Moon Day, December the 9th, 2024, and the time is 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm in such a great mood, family. Thank you all for checking in. So many of you all have been checking in early. Somebody said it's our favorite doctor. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Someone else said they are ready for the show. Check in, family. I just want to let you all know about tomorrow and what we should expect tomorrow, which is a very special day, not just overseas, but here in America as well. So let us know where you're hailing from. I see you all here on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble, all over the place from all across the globe. Check in and let us know how you're feeling today. It's been a good day. Earlier today, if you missed my live, I was talking about working with children with disabilities and how some of those children were born with disabilities. Some of those children were involved in car accidents. And when children are born with disabilities or they have disabilities, sometimes they come to specialized schooling where they receive instructions or daycare or just care, like we clean them up, we feed them. And the sad part about that is that some of those students cannot speak. And what's even more sad for me is that some of them have been abused and traumatized in foster care, group homes, or just in other homes where they place children with disabilities. And some of them have been involved in a lot of abuse, a lot of actual abuse. And so that put me in a mind frame today to think about the children. It's sad because they can't talk about their abuse, and many of them have actually regressed on their journey. Like some of them can't talk, they can't walk. And can you imagine being sodomized or beaten and emotionally traumatized, and you can't tell anybody? So these are documented cases of children being abused in homes and abused by people at the highest levels in society, but also just regular people in the homes to whom CPS sells them to or gives them to. So I don't want to get too much into that. I talked about it today, and I talked about how we should know that this battle against the deep state is really about liberating all of us, adults, and more importantly to me, the children, because a lot of children have gone through ritualistic abuse at the highest levels in politics, at the hands of presidents, and people in entertainment, singers, rappers, people involved in the NBA and NFL and athletics. Let's see, musicians, and not just those that are involved at the levels where they were at Diddy parties. And those Diddy parties weren't just freak offs. Those were about doing bad things to children. And now you're hearing names come out like Jay-Z, Beyonce, and some of the other celebrities that are allegedly involved. And you're going to also hear about pastors that were involved in the Diddy parties and doing things to children. You're going to hear about people involved in the banking system. Some of the ministers unfortunately, in your community, some of the coaches have been involved. Some of the who else? Teachers, doctors, lawyers, nurses. It's crazy. And this is why a lot of them were marching whenever Until Freedom, Antifa, Black Lives Matter marches. And some of them, you will see some of these pastors and people in your community, all of a sudden, you didn't even know they were friends with celebrities. All of a sudden, they're bringing these celebrities to their churches and they're marching alongside of them because, unfortunately, many of them were involved in secret societies that did bad things to children in order to climb up the ranks. So I don't want this to be a podcast where we're down. So just watch my podcast from earlier today. I talked about it because I was working with some of the children who are abused and some who can't speak, and we have to feed them and clean them and, change them and things like that. And it just breaks my heart that this has happened. And much of this had happened unbeknownst to us. But if you're my age, I'm a woman of a certain age, right? You remember the time when we had milk cartons that sponsored and showcased children's faces on those milk cartons, right? Well, those were missing children who people couldn't find. And the reason we're figuring out now that we couldn't find those children is because many of them were trafficked. They were taken underground. Unfortunately, bad things had happened to them. They were mutilated. They were raped. They were abused, and they were shipped to presidents. They were shipped to entertainers, and just people in these secret circle meetings that the secret societies were involved in. And I don't want to go into it too much, but I'm not saying the secret societies are bad, because you have benevolent people that are participating in secret societies at certain levels that do good things in the community. But some of them at the higher levels have had to sacrifice their family members or do things to children. And those sessions were taped, videotaped, so that these people can be blackmailed and forced to do certain things. Now, I'm very fortunate that I know David Quigley, who is John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., the real one, who this is his story according to his book called Stolen Identity. And it talks about how he was traded out for his stepbrother, the dark complected, dark haired guy who looks Greek, as a matter of fact, and he was substituted for this guy. And that's the guy we know of, John F. Kennedy Jr., the one who died in a plane crash. Well, that was actually allegedly, according to the book, according to my friend JFK's story, that was the child of Aristotle Onassis and his mistress, Maria Callassi. And so he was replaced, the real one, with this gentleman, and he was put in secret, what was they call it? Like they call it a protective custody. But in protective custody, you're still at the mercy of your handlers, which is the cabal or the deep state, the same people that are running our presidencies, the same people that control the world all across the globe at the highest levels, the same people controlling the banking systems, the same people in Hollywood. It sounds like it's a lot of people, but it's a small circle of them who are so-called elites because they're bloodline families. Now, you do have good ones and you have nefarious or bad ones, but a lot of those people involved in those elite circles were forced to be manipulated through MK Ultra mind control and other mind control programs. They were sodomized, they were cut, they were put on tables as party favors for the so-called elite presidents and Jay-Z and entertainers, allegedly. And they were placed on tables and had food placed on them. They had food eaten off, and these are babies and children. And then they were selected and done some very horrible things that are adult things that they should have never been exposed to. So I do know JFK Kennedy Jr. You can find him. His name is David Quigley on Facebook and YouTube. And he's also known as John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. on YouTube. And I know Rena Houston, who is the eldest daughter of Whitney Houston. I've shown you articles where Leola Brown, I think her name is, who is Whitney Houston's sister-in-law, Bobby Brown's sister, has admitted that she heard about Rena Houston and that she said, if I find her, I will help her. You can look that up. It's online. And the National Enquiry also did a story about Rena Houston, who was taken from Whitney when Whitney was pregnant at 16, and she was trafficked through CPS and sold to a specific family, given a fake ID, a fake name, and had heinous things happen to her. I've also met someone that is a survivor of abuse from the Presley family. And I've met and spoken with Nancy Pelosi's daughter-in-law who had her children taken from her. So God has put me in some places to hear some very sad stories, family, and to also work with abused children. And also consider I have been a foster parent since I was 19. So I've heard these stories firsthand about what happened to these babies and about how once they go through CPS and foster care and group homes, how they're forgotten. And all these people just have them, at their disposal to do whatever they want. And you're trained, even as a foster parent, to not believe the children. They tell you not to believe the children because they're traumatized and they make up stories. Well, I was saying, well, if these children they're spreading feces on the walls and they're crying in the middle of the night and, they're urinating on themselves and some of them are nonverbal that I've had to take care of, either as a teacher or as a foster parent, there is something traumatic that has happened to these babies, and I'm going to listen. So people ask me, why do you believe these stories? And, they say, some people say they follow me, but they don't like the fact that I believe these stories. I have no other choice, in my opinion. I know we all have choices, but I've worked firsthand as a foster mother with these babies, and I've heard how they've been passed from home to home. I've heard about what happens in boys and girls clubs, what happens behind the scenes with coaches and teachers. Not all of them, of course, bankers and ministers and all this stuff. I've heard from these babies, and it's documented in their records. So I believe them, and you're going to hear more of this come out as we move forward. So 2024 is almost over, family, but it won't be over until you hear more and more news about what's been happening in your local communities. So don't be too shocked and surprised when you hear about certain pastors and coaches and teachers and doctors and lawyers and different people being arrested, because again, behind the scenes, a lot of this was allowed to happen. Some of it happened right in the churches and cathedrals, right in the schools, underground in the hospitals. I knew a person who was a doctor that worked in the hospital. This was in about 2009. He told me he worked in the hospital. And then when he found out what was going on in the basement of those hospitals, what type of records were stored there, what type of things were going on there, what type of mutilation was going on, and different experimentation on children and babies, and some adults too, he quit. And people thought he was crazy for quitting and stopping, this practice of medicine. But he said, I had to when I learned what was going on. He is the first person that told me about all these things going on behind the scenes, and how the deep state had to be taken down, and the cabal, and how we would one day receive freedom and we would go into a new era. And of course, 2009, I didn't understand what he was talking about. But at the same time, I met people who were talking about sovereignty and how we were all sovereign and we have been enslaved through our birth certificates. So I'm just very, very blessed and fortunate to be here during this time, and very, very fortunate to meet some wonderful people who are so valiant and brave to tell their stories. And I'm fortunate to be here with you all, our soul family, as we call it, because you give me strength and you give me courage and you bless me. You bless me with your prayers. You bless me with words of encouragement, and you bless me even with your financial gifts. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you all quickly, thank you for that. I want to tell John F. Kennedy Jr. thank you. He always sends me blessings, as much as he can, just to say thank you for being a friend of his. I want to thank Leah Winmere. I thank Ronald Wilson. I thank Byron Boyd, Sean Anderson, Glenn Snell. Thank you so much. Leslie Green, I thank you and appreciate you. Who else? My sister Niteria, Tristan Early. That's my biological sister, Niteria. I also appreciate you, Tristan. You always come through and bless me when you can, but your presence, most of all, is a blessing. Dr. Pamela Hart, thank you so much for your financial blessing. Victoria, thank you so much. Vila, Etta, Brian, thank you. And I'm just saying thank you verbally because I appreciate you all. God bless you, heaven smile on you, and may the Most High bless you with 100-fold, 1,000-fold for what you have given me. Also, I want to thank Terry Allen, Joanne, Lamir, I think it is as well. Carrie, thank you so much. Merchendo. Also, Abram, thank you. Lita Vincent L, thank you. And my good friend, Dennis Perkins, who's been a supporter of the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show for a long time. Thank you so very much for blessing me with the Cash App. So please forgive me for going off on that rant, about what's been going on behind the scenes. But I think it's important for us to know that a lot of this war is really about the deep state, and it's about taking down those entities and those people and corporations that have enslaved our children and done bad things to our children, that have come from across the waters abroad, but also our children here in America. And so what I would encourage us all to do is to be empathetic. Even if the stories sound heinous and it seems like something that's unbelievable, please just be empathetic and listen to their stories, because many child actors, this screen is not acting right, have been trying to come out and talk about how they would go through ritualistic abuse in Hollywood, particularly in the Disney camp. And they talked about how they were a part of MK Ultra and some kind of Monarch program, butterfly programs, things that I don't necessarily understand, but they've been talking to us about this for years, these child actors who are now adults. And some people have come on Instagram, like Allie Carter. She's been out for about 5 or 6 years talking about her story. So Rena Houston has come out and people ridiculed her. So she just had to stop talking. Who else has talked about JFK Jr., now known as David Quigley? That's the name that the government or the people in protective custody gave him when they protected him after they got rid of his father, John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr., and his mom, and then got rid of his stepdad, Aristotle Onassis. So you might ask, how is it that this could happen? And I'll tell you, because the bloodline families, these so-called elite people that overtook our governments here in America and all across the globe, are a group of people that are, to some extent, I would say in large part, are related to non-human entities. Some of the people that are functioning in our society are actually draconians, reptilians, or interdimensional beings. Some of them are what people call NPCs, a non-player, some type of non-player communicators or actors. NPCs, meaning that they're not even real. And I've heard that maybe 500 million people are real, and the rest of the 7 billion people on the planet may not be real. So you have people that are not real here. You have people that are draconians, reptilians, and from different interdimensions, from different dimensions or different planets. So they call them, what do you call it, galactics or extraterrestrial. Some people call them the Nephilim, of which the Bible speaks, when the Bible says that the sons of God came down and made it with the daughters of men, meaning that interdimensional beings, whom some people call angels, came down and had relations with the women here, and they created children. Then they put those beings, some of those beings, in governments. And if they didn't put their beings in all the governments, then they made contractual agreements with human governments or human hybrids. And they would give them wealth and power and money in exchange for giving them, the governments giving the interdimensional beings, humans and children, to take their organs, to experiment on them, and all that type of crazy stuff. So our planet has been overtaken by a group of bloodline families that many of you have heard of. And then I've done podcasts to tell you that there are bloodline families that control those bloodline families. The 13 bloodline families that we know of, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and et cetera, they have handlers as well. And those handlers, like the Medicis, the Orsinis, and I've given you an extensive list of those people are allegedly connected to Haile Selassie and related to Haile Selassie. And this is why Haile Selassie was not only considered a ruler in Eastern Africa, but a king, so to speak, of the world. And I've shown you pictures of the Queen Elizabeth, actually bowing down to Haile Selassie, worshiping him, honoring him, reverencing him, because he was a king that may not have been human. Okay. I've heard that he actually came from America during my research and my studies and talking to some people that have classified information that I hope comes out. But I heard he was actually from America and he fled to Eastern Africa, Ethiopia. And I also heard that one of the first languages here in America, I forgot the name of it, I'll find it for you, is actually an Ethiopian language. That language went with him over there to Ethiopia. So this deep state is deeper than we could ever imagine, family. Okay. But at some levels, at many levels, the deep state has been overtaken. At many levels, this war against these entities that have confused us, enslaved us, done heinous things to us, has come to a close. And this is why you're finding out information about what happened on that island with Itty Day, AZJ, presidents. I'm speaking pig Latin because I have to be careful on these social media platforms and others. We are in an age of disclosure called the age of Aquarius, and also called the golden era or the corona, corona. And this is why they called the sickness corona in 2020, because corona means crown, as in a golden era, as in crown chakra, as in this energy center above your head, now being activated and being enlightened. And so you're ascending through many generations, many dimensions, and you're opening up your pineal gland. You're awakening to your Christos consciousness, your Christ consciousness, and your God self. So now you're able to manifest quickly. Things that you speak or think they're starting to come into fruition very, very quickly, because we're in the golden age. So the bad part of the governments that were in control were speaking in code to one each other by using the word corona, saying we're in a golden age. Their crown chakra is being activated. These people that we've tried to keep down and keep them suppressed and oppressed and enslaved are now awakening, and they're coming into their God selves. They're now knowing that we cannot feed them programs and paradigms like racism and sexism and all this hatred, whereby if they would, when they would focus on those things, like by watching bad movies, listening to low vibrational music, or hearing bad news all across the media, and then focusing too much on social media, when they or the humans would do that, then their vibrational frequencies would come down, and we would emit a psychic energy called loosh, Loosh. Well, those interdimensional beings that control the planet actually live on loosh. They feed off of loosh. This psychic energy actually enlarges them. It's like food, like we eat meat and bread or fruits and vegetables if you're vegetarian like me, and we drink water. Many of these interdimensional beings actually enlarge themselves and eat and feed off of the loosh, or the psychic energy that we would emit. Well, now that we enter in a whole new age, the golden era, the age of Aquarius, the crown chakra is activating, and we're now operating at our highest levels as we continue to ascend in consciousness, because the whole planet is ascending. And this is what Master Metaphysician, Dr. Delbert Blair was talking about in the 1990s, in the early 2000s. He talked about ascending to the fifth dimension. And he's one of the first ones to talk about diodes and wearing real copper and real gold and real silver. He talked about colloidal silver and colloidal gold and colloidal copper. And he talked about monoatomic gold, silver, and copper, how you can take it and it will detect any sickness in your body and deal with it. And it will also get rid of any viruses in the body. The colloidal silvers will, even just wearing it or taking it. Dr. Delbert Blair told us about this in the 90s and early 2000s. He was the precursor to what we know today and to where we are today. He talked about having certain magnets that will negate or neutralize the bad things that are in your car that will vibrate on your lower chakra and cause fertility issues in men and women. And when you would buy those diodes from the Meta Center, you could place them in your car and it would neutralize all those bad things that were going on in our bodies. He had diodes that you could put under your pillow and in your mattress, because many of our mattresses are poisonous. This is crazy. So you can get those things at the Meta Center. And if you desire to, and check out at the Meta Center Chicago, you can use DRKIA 2024 if you care to at the checkout and get a discount. And we gave you the highest discount we could. Dr. Tony Vortex is now his predecessor. Not how do you say it? Is now the one who came after him. I don't know the correct word. And he has been on my show many times, and he's made it so that if anybody wants colloidals or monoatomics or diodes or seeds that are not modified, they are heirloom seeds, then you can go to the metacenterchicago.com and use DRKIA 2024 at the checkout and get 11% discount. But that leads me into tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow? Keep checking in, family. I see you all here. I see you, Georgia. I see you, North Carolina, and many of you checking in. Tomorrow is December the 10th. December the 10th is a very important day. I just wanted to give an introduction to give you all time to check in. December the 10th is called Victory Day. So for all of you who are invested in Iraq, it's Victory Day for Iraq. So if you have Iraqi dinar, listen up closely. And even if you don't, you want to listen, because it's not only Victory Day for Iraq, it's Victory Day for many people across the globe and for us here in America. So why Victory Day being significant is something that I want to talk about today, because it happens to fall on a Tuesday. And as many of you know, I've been saying this for years, that Tuesday is an important day. Tuesday was named after TIW, or Tyr, TYR, after the god of single combat and the god of law. That's important. In many cultures, Tuesdays are considered an unlucky day, while in other cultures, Tuesdays are associated with themes such as confession, passion, and celebration. Confession, passion, and celebration. So tomorrow, December 10th, Tuesday, we're going to have Victory Day in America and in Iraq. But specifically, it's Victory Day in Iraq because they're celebrating the end and victory over ISIS. So remember ISIS? ISIS had come into their country and into the country of Iraq and done many bad things. And so in order to help you understand why they're celebrating the end of ISIS, let me show you a little bit here. I see Kentucky in the house. Hi, Kentucky. Let's see. Why are we celebrating Victory Day? This is a day that Iraq celebrates every year, family. And I will drop this link to the article in the description section on my Rumble channel and on my YouTube channel, and maybe on some of my other social media platforms as well. So Victory Day is held on December 10th of every year. It commemorates Iraq's victory over the so-called Islamic State of ISIS in December 2017. Some of you can't see this article that I brought up on my screen, but I'll read it so that you can see it, so you can hear me at least on Instagram. In 2014, ISIS launched an offensive attack in Iraq, taking control of about a third of the Iraqi territory, including the second biggest city called Mosul. The war to reclaim the territory was long, as you all remember, and it was very brutal, with liberation efforts in each town and city met with fierce resistance. Military support to Iraqi forces from the United States, from Canada, and other European allies were also bolstered by Russian logistical and military aid. So they got support from all across the globe. On December 9th, 2017, the Prime Minister al-Abadi declared final victory over ISIS after Iraqi forces drove its last remnants from the country. So he declared that December 10th would be a national holiday to celebrate their victory over ISIS each and every year, and told their Iraqi citizens to please mark their calendars. So that's coming tomorrow. And right now it is actually December 10th in Iraq. It's probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So please, family, help me celebrate with our Iraqi friends and family members and telling them congratulations for getting rid of the enemy that was in their territory. So I've heard from my friends on Twitter, or X, and you guys should be on X because the news always drops over there. I'm Dr. Kia Pruitt, but my other name is @SisterCounselor on X, and you'll find me retweeting some of the news that comes through on Twitter because people just go in on the information there. But I heard on Twitter that people in Detroit were celebrating. Yes, they were celebrating already ahead of tomorrow, Victory Day, for the Iraqi people. Why were the Detroit people celebrating? Because you have a high or a large concentration of Iraqi people that actually live in Detroit. And this is why al-Sudani in April, earlier this year, when he visited Washington, D.C. to talk to the president and some people in finances about trading and doing business between the United States and Iraq, and how they wanted to now become allies with the United States, incorporate or stronger strengthen their ties. He also went to Detroit to talk to his citizens. Al-Sudani, the prime minister, and some of his prelates or some of the members of his cabinet went to Detroit. So That was very, very fascinating. Another trip that he made when he came here was to some billionaires and Texan billionaires and Texas oilmen and some other rich billionaires here in America, and to ask them to invest in Iraq. Because he said, according to Al Sudani, the prime minister or president there, he said, we have a lot of resources to exploit in our country. So this is why a lot of the Detroit citizens there that are of Iraqi descent were celebrating, because they know that this big day of acknowledging that they're now free is something that will be commemorated throughout all of their history, throughout all of their generations. Now, some people are speculating that some other things could happen, like maybe you could see the Iraqi dinar officially trade on the Forex. And if it does officially trade on the Forex and in the markets, then you know that the new rate has been assessed and attached to the Iraqi dinar. And so if you hold the Iraqi dinar, which is their currency, and you know that they have a new exchange rate, then you'll be able to, at the proper time, to go and exchange those currencies and come out very, very wealthy. Let me pause here to say that I had Patriot Rod Steele on our podcast. I think it was maybe Thursday or Friday night. I think it was Thursday night. And he did an extensive podcast on what's going on in Iraq, on the wealth transfer that we are all going to experience all across the globe. He talked about currency revaluations, Nasara and Jasara. And he also just talked about how we're in a good place, family, and every single one of you all across the globe will be compensated for the financial and economic enslavement that you've endured at the hands of these merciless people who controlled the world. Now, if you listen to that podcast, Patriot Rod Steele said he will do some consultations, but you have to look for him on X and look for that podcast. He's on Twitter, on X, as Patriot Rod Steele. I'm no longer taking email, so please don't email me, because I was flooded with email once he did that podcast. And I mean, it was a lot to get through. And so now I'm also actually working as well, part-time at a couple jobs, and I'm working here on my channel. So I'm doing a lot of things. So please contact him directly. I'm no longer taking email to forward to him. You'll have to contact Patriot Rod Steele if you would like to do a consultation with him to learn more about the Iraqi dinar. So for those of you who are asking, what do you mean Iraqi dinar? So what has happened historically is, whenever a country did not want to use the United States dollar for trade, the United States incorporated the group of bloodline families that usurped authority from our republic, our lawful government, would declare war on those countries. Okay. We, or the United States Incorporated, forced countries to use the United States dollar for trade. Why? Because there was an agreement between the United States Incorporated, the bloodline families, and the Saudi Arabian princes. And that agreement was, we would protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil, and we would force all nations to get oil from Saudi Arabia and to use the dollar for trade. And that's what gave the United States Incorporated financial and economic hegemony, meaning they were the world leaders. And that's what gave the dollar, the United States dollar, world reserve currency status, petrodollar status. We forced all countries to use the dollar for trade. We pegged all of their currencies, to the United States dollar. And we said, if you don't do it, we'll sanction you or we'll declare war. And so many countries really, they didn't want to do it, but they were forced to do it. And some of them even tried to trade at other places, get oil from other places other than the Saudi empire. And even if they were trying to get oil from Saudi Arabia, they would try to use their local currencies backed by gold, or they would try to use gold. And so what the United States Incorporated would do is not only put sanctions on them, but declare war. And then the United States Incorporated, after sending a military into their countries, would fund both sides of the war, decimate their economies, destroy the infrastructure, destroy the GDP in their financial system. Their economy was just decimated, which in turn will decimate their currency, such as the Iraqi dinar, the Kuwaiti dinar, and other currencies all across the world. Okay. People at the highest level, presidents, people high up in military, banking, CEOs, and Hollywood stars, some of them that knew about this, would go into those decimated, war-torn countries that were either decimated through war or sanctions, buy up the currencies that had been devalued while it was low, hold on to those currencies. And then after the war, the United States would leave there, after the war, leave there somewhat, but then go back and rebuild the infrastructure. Once they would rebuild the infrastructure, the GDP would go up and the value on those currencies would then go back up. So those people that had bought the currencies that were devalued through war that was caused by the United States Incorporated would then say, oh, now the currency has revalued and the currency has been reinstated back to its normal value, or at least gone up in value. Now I can go to the banks and get a higher exchange rate. And many of them became millionaires and billionaires overnight. That's how a lot of lawmakers became millionaires and billionaires. That's how presidents became wealthy. That's how CEOs became wealthy. That's why no matter how many degrees, what degree you have, how educated and smart you are, you couldn't become a CEO, because unless you were part of the secret societies, unless you knew information at the highest level and you participated in rituals, some involving children, some not, and you agreed to keep this stuff secret, you were not allowed to participate, and neither were you allowed to be able to attain those jobs. So a lot of you, like me, you have PhDs, masters, bachelors, associates, or you just know a lot of information, or you're good at your trade. You can only go up so far because a lot of these jobs were closed. They held secrets, okay, like foreign currency exchanges. So the Kuwaiti dinar revalued in 1991, and a lot of people who went in there and bought the Kuwaiti dinar when the dinar had been devalued through war, held on to it until it revalued. And in the middle of the night, you can find articles that talk about this. Some articles have been scrubbed from the internet. I want to let you know because I've been looking for them. But you can find some through the New York Times, but you have to subscribe to read the whole article. It was still dark because they had some type of bad storm that happened in Kuwait, and the electricity was out, but the bank's lights were on, and the people who were in the know were making exchanges on the Kuwaiti dinar and became wealthy overnight. And right before the currency had been revalued or reinstated back to its highest level, because the Kuwaiti dinar was one of the highest, if not the highest, currencies in the world. It was at like $3.65 above the United States dollar before the war. Then it was decimated just to a few pennies, but it was reinstated. But right before it got reinstated and revalued, they were saying, oh, the country will stay decimated. The news that was coming out of Kuwait. Oh, the Kuwaiti dinar will never revalue. Oh, the infrastructure will stay bad. Oh, we'll always stay in perpetual war. So I'm alerting you right now and encouraging you and informing you of this, because if you're hearing information that the Iraqi dinar is not going to revalue, these currencies will not revalue, that is the rhetoric that comes out right before it actually happens, so that people can sell off their currencies. HODL, hold on for dear life. Do not give up your Iraqi dinar, your Afghanistan currency, your Vietnamese dong, your Zimbabwean zim, whatever you have, your Indonesian rupiah, your Indian rupee, whatever you're holding on to, HODL for dear life. And you can talk to each other in the chat if you want to know where to get those currencies from, or you want more information. So this happened in Kuwait. So remember, this was an agreement between the deep state, United States Incorporated, and the Saudi princes to force all nations to get oil from the Saudi kingdom and the Saudi princes. Well, the Saudi princes, the benevolent faction of them are okay, but the nefarious faction of them have been dismantled. Many of the Saudi princes actually owned the casinos in Nevada. I've heard from some friends that some of those casinos are now closing. I don't know if that's true, but if that's true, that's why. Because the Saudi princes own those casinos. They own land here in America, just like Ukraine. Ukraine owned a lot of land here. The CCP, Chinese Communist Party of China, they owned a lot of land here. Thankfully, Evergrande, which was China's largest real estate company, filed bankruptcy here in America last year, and they were forced to liquidate. So hopefully they no longer own that land here. But Ukraine has a lot of land in Cleveland. That's where I was born and raised. You can look it up. Ukraine owns downtown Cleveland. You'll see a whole bunch of articles that will come up that talk about how the Ukrainian mafia or Ukrainian group of businessmen, they call them Ukrainian mafia, owns downtown Cleveland. They also own infrastructures in Louisville, Kentucky, where I raised my children, but they own land all over here. And this is why this current administration, not the newly elected one, number 46, was upset with Vladimir Putin because Vladimir Putin, he uncovered what was going on in Ukraine by cleaning out the underground military bases and exposing the number 46's crime family. And he forwarded some of that information to James Comer, who is the chairperson of the Oversight Committee. Go to the House Oversight Committee, Google House Oversight Committee or oversight.house.gov. In that website, on the search part, type in BIDEN, and you'll see all the evidence that James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee, has over number 46 and the crime family. You'll see testimonials, you'll see checks written to the CCP, you'll see documentations and all type of things that he found on his own, James Comer, and that Vladimir Putin exposed. And that's why 46 put sanctions on Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. And then Vladimir Putin clapped back, or he responded by saying, I'm not afraid of you. You can put sanctions on me all day long, but I have a strong military and I have alliances. Then he started trading with his Russian ruble, and this would happen in 2022. And that's why the Russian ruble, you can fact check me, Google it. The Russian ruble was the strongest performing currency in 2022 because he traded with his own currency. And then he not only dropped the United States dollar for trade, he inspired Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to stop trading with the United States dollar and to use their own local currencies backed by precious metals. So do those countries sound familiar? Vladimir Putin inspired Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to leave the United States dollar, to stop trading with it and to trade with their own currencies. That union, BRICS, Brics, that union became stronger and stronger, which it was created a while ago, but it became even stronger now with Vladimir Putin saying, we're going to clap back against the United States Incorporated and their central banking system, the Federal Reserve. And we're going to help Donald Trump and the Grand Army of the Republic totally dismantle the deep state bloodline families that enslaved the whole planet and their central banking system by using our own currencies. And they were able to do this because they repatriated all their gold artifacts and important things, monumental things from the Vatican. They also had contractual agreements with other nations to help them dig out the precious metals that was in the ground. And then many countries, including America, found a lot of rare earth minerals through discovery. As a matter of fact, last year, the United States of America, here in America, we uncovered and discovered rare earth minerals that had been buried, or I don't know where it was, in Wyoming and other places, in the amount of 2.34 billion metric tons, which makes us the global leader in rare earth minerals. And all this wealth, family, will back up the dollar here in America and all across the globe, as well as your trust, like your Saint Germain trust, your Solomon trust, your trust that your Rodriguez trust that Princess Elizabeth has, or she's in control of. She's the sole executor. So this wealth would back up our currencies, and it will fund NASAR, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. It will fund the global version of that, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act. And that act will enable all of us to become wealthy, because the first thing we're about to experience very, very soon is a debt jubilee all across the globe, where all of our debts will be wiped out. And some people will say, well, how can that happen? Because the gold is already being put forward to pay off the debts. And I've done videos on that since 2022, announcing that the gold has already been put forward behind the scene to pay off the debt. So we're going to experience a debt jubilee all across the globe. And each person in America and in your respective countries will have money put into a quantum account, a secret account that only you can access through your energy centers. Your motive can be read, your energy can be read, and this wealth in the tens of thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands will come from your birth certificate bond, because many of you, all of us have a birth certificate. Most people all across the globe have a birth certificate that was signed by our moms in the hospital. Unbeknownst to our mothers, those birth certificates were securitized and traded on the New York Stock Exchange and other stock exchanges, and interest was accrued, and that was supposed to be put in a trust for us to live off of. But instead, these nefarious people who are in power would force us to get loans for houses, loans for education, loans for cars, bank loans, just to live and to eat. And when you got a loan, you would sign off on those so-called loans. And unbeknownst to us, we gave them power of attorney over our trust, and they would access our trust and pay themselves off. Even when you rent, pay themselves off. Go to the doctor, pay themselves off out of your trust. Send you to court, pay themselves off out of the trust. By the way, judges wear black because they're performing a funeral, because they consider us dead at sea. The old system, admiralty law, all that's being done away with. So they would access our trust, pay themselves off, and then make you and me pay them back with interest. That was against the law. It's unconstitutional to do so. It's TREASONOUS. And this is why the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine. The Chevron Doctrine said that all those 441 government agencies, I've shown you the list on my community tab or on my YouTube channel, and I'll put it in the description section for you too here. The Supreme Court of the United States said all these federal agencies, CIA, FBI, IRS, EPA, HOAs, you name them, so many of them. Some of them 3-letter, some of them more than 3-letter organizations. I got a list of 441 of them. All of these so-called federal agencies are not federal. They're not part of our government. They're corporations. They are headed by bloodline people, and they're cronies, but they're not federal at all. They're unconstitutional. They have come up with their own laws and their own laws, statutes, codes, and policies, and forced us to abide by them to enslave us. The Supreme Court of the United States said this summer that's treasonous and it's against the law. It's unconstitutional, and they all have to be dismantled. So that's why you're going to see a lot of these people be arrested, unalived, and dismantled, their corporations dismantled. So the Chevron Doctrine stated that those corporations and entities could come up with their own statutes, codes, and policies. They could have their policy enforcers or police officers to arrest you if you didn't abide by some of these laws. And if you try to contest these not laws, because laws are constitutional, policy, statutes, and codes in court, the courts and the judges would defer you right back to those nefarious, unlawful agencies and say, you have to do what they say. You have to abide by the HOAs and not grow your own food in your yard, because that's the rule they came up with. And these people are the experts. You have to do whatever CPS says and let them steal your children from your house, because they are the experts. You have to abide by the CIA and the FBI and let them put drugs in your community and take information on the Census Bureau and tell them who's all in your family and what race they are, what religion, and whatever information they collect. You have to do it, these judges would say. Well, the Supreme Court of the United States said that no longer do you have to abide by it, those laws, those rules. It's unconstitutional. They said that judges had deferred back to those agencies if you tried to challenge those agencies. But each judge that allowed that to happen has committed treason, and each judge that know of a judge that deferred you back to those agencies and knew this was happening and did not report it to the president has committed misprision of treason. And any of these agencies that have made us do follow these certain rules are also treasonous. So when the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron deference or the Chevron Doctrine, then now it's official that they all must fall down. And that's why you're about to read, and some of you probably have read some articles about FBI agents falling, CIA agents falling, some of these agencies' headquarters and all these corporations, they are falling. Okay. So that's what I want to tell you about, and as it relates to what's going on in America. Speaking of the Supreme Court of the United States, family, This information is also circulating that it's Victory Day not only for the Iraqis who will celebrate the end of ISIS, but it should be Victory Day for us as well, because here in the United States, the Supreme Court of the United States will make their final decision of the year, the final decision of 2024. And there are some speculation that those decisions, or that final decision, will be about the Brunson case. Again, the Brunson case was the case that the Trumpet brothers brought against the whole 46 administration, Biden, Pelosi, Harris, and 385 members of Congress, stating that they had some nefarious goings on, or some nefarious doings as it relates to what happened in 2020 and 2022. And if it is determined that indeed they participated in or had knowledge of fraud at the highest level in 2020 and 2022, that whole administration has to be dismantled. It will be considered null and void. That's supposed to happen. Well, a major announcement is supposed to happen on tomorrow. We're hoping that that is the major announcement, but who knows? Who knows if that's what's actually going to happen or not? And I was trying to find you guys. Let me see if I could find this here. Is that it? That's not it. Let's see if this is it here. Somebody put this on Twitter, Jack Straw. You can find that on Twitter. I'll read it for you guys on Instagram. It says, on Tuesday, December the 10th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. CST, Central Time, the Supreme Court is set to deliver its final announcement of the year. I didn't just hear it on Twitter. I heard it on Restore Republic. I heard it with some of my friends who've been calling me through the middle of the night. I heard it from people who are working at certain levels in government, or I should just say, maybe not in with the deep state, but helping to take down the deep state. Allegedly, the Supreme Court of the United States is supposed to make its final announcement. Now, we've all been saying that they have made a decision in regards to the Brunson brothers case, because the Supreme Court was supposed to hear that actually a year or two ago, when the Brunson brothers brought this case against Biden, Harris, Pelosi, and 385 members of Congress, but the Supreme Court refused to hear the case. Well, then Lloyd Brunson, whom I've had the pleasure of interviewing twice on my channels, found a loophole in the law that says that if the Supreme Court of the United States does not hear a case as significant as this, dealing with a coup d'etat, overtaking of our government, if they don't hear it, then the justices can be held for treason. Oh, you know what? I just got a message that says it looks like your Rumble stream has ended or been deleted on Rumble. And you can't go live, let's say, within 24 hours. Wow. I often have problems like this, family, with Rumble, YouTube. And people say Rumble, Rumble is not a bad Rumble is not a bad channel or a station or whatever. Rumble allows you to go live, and Rumble will never censor you. Well, that's not true. I've had problems on Rumble, and it could just be an accident. I don't know why I was kicked off of Rumble, but let me see if I can re-add it. Nope, they won't let me. So anyway, I've forgotten what I was saying. Lloyd Brunson found a loophole that says if the Supreme Court justices do not hear the case, then the Supreme Court justices can be held for treason, and the repercussions of treason is okay. So the Supreme Court of the United States then said, we will hold a conference and we will decide on the case whether or not the number 46 has been a security breach. We would decide whether or not he's allowed people to vote illegally. Well, we already know that the Biden administration admitted to allowing 320,000 illegal people to fly over our airspace into our country unlawfully. We already know that undocumented people were allowed to vote. Even this year, you didn't even have to show your identification. We already know they were given food and different types of benefits, as well as being allowed to vote. And this has been going on for some time. So the Supreme Court had to do something, or else those justices could be held for treason. So thanks to the Most High for Lloyd Brunson and the Brunson brothers for bringing the case against the 46th administration, and for letting the Supreme Court justices know you got to answer. You got to do something about this. So the Supreme Court justices were supposed to hold a conference and let us know the details of the conference and what they found out, what were the findings of the conference. They never let us know, but we've heard unofficially that they ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers. Now, before they ruled in favor, before they had this conference, many of the liberal justices recused themselves from the case. They said, we can't hear. The liberals, at least 3 of them we know, had said, we can't hear this case. I can't be unbiased for whatever reason. And they didn't hear the case. And then a writ of memorandus was accepted to allow Justice Clarence Thomas to single-handedly make that judgment himself. Then he went missing last year, and the CNN actually announced that he was missing. He wasn't showing up for the hearings. And they were saying, we don't know if he's sick, but if he was sick, he could report from home. Why isn't he showing up to hear these cases? Well, what we have come to understand and overstand is that he likely was under protection of the military. So kudos to the Justice Clarence Thomas, and we're trusting that he did hear the case. And this is what we're hoping will come out tomorrow, December the 10th, 2024, when the Supreme Court gives their final announcement for the whole year. So tomorrow should be victory day for people here in America and all across the globe, because with that overturning of what happened in 2020, that whole administration will be dismantled, considered null and void. And then the president-elect, Donald Trump, who is still the commander-in-chief, who's been acting as the president, you guys can see, making rounds all over the place, making announcements, right? Talking about his executive orders, talking about his Agenda 47. He then will step to the forefront and take his place and do what he does as the president, if in fact this happens on tomorrow. So I just wanted to bring that up to you, family, to let you know that tomorrow is a big day. It is Tuesday. Tuesday is a day of war. Tuesday is a day of announcements and celebrations, as I showed you at the beginning of this podcast. And Tuesday is the day on December the 10th that Iraq will celebrate them getting rid of ISIS out of their country. Tuesday also is supposed to be, on December the 10th, the day that the new Central Bank of Iraq's building goes up. So their headquarters, the Central Bank of Iraq, had been under construction for some time. And the last article that I read in September said that they would unleash or unveil the new headquarters of the new building very, very soon. That was in September. And now we're hearing that they might actually unveil it tomorrow on December 10th. That information is going all across Twitter, as well as in some independent sources, independent journalistic sources. So here you can see here, this is Nate Carter posting on Twitter. The new Central Bank of Iraq's building is scheduled to open on December 10, 2024, on their victory day. So I'm excited. As I told you, the Iraqi citizens are probably going to have a celebration like none other this year, with President Donald Trump being the president-elect in America, and al-Sudani having a good relationship with Donald Trump, as well as Vladimir Putin of Russia and Xi Jinping of China. So tomorrow is a big day, family. Now, I told you earlier that some of the people from Detroit were on Twitter saying that Iraqi citizens that are in Detroit, Iraqi American citizens, are celebrating in Detroit right now. And I told you the reason that would be is because Iraq has a high population of their people in Detroit. And this is why al-Sudani actually visited Detroit in April of this year, 2024, when he came to America to meet with some of the people in finances, and he came to meet with Biden in the month of April. So I'll see if I can find this for you here, where it says, The Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani makes a quick visit to Metro Detroit. This was in April the 18th, 2024. The Iraqi Prime Minister al-Sudani was in Metro Detroit on Thursday evening for a quick visit where he planned a trip to Dearborn Heights Mosque and a West Bloomfield Country Club to meet with local members of the Iraqi diaspora, Wayne County officials stated. The Iraqi leader, his visit was not publicly announced or open to the media to cover, but local leaders said it underscored the influence of Metro Detroit's Middle Eastern community. You know what, Detroit, you guys have suffered a lot with all of the factories leaving, going over to China and other places. But now with the Prime Minister of Iraq actually making connections with the Detroit leaders there and officials there and meeting with business people there and going to the mosque, you better believe Detroit is about to come back up and do very, very well. So the article says the Iraqi's leader visit wasn't publicly announced, but local leaders said that this meeting underscored the influence of Metro Detroit's Middle Eastern community. People of Iraq descent are just one segment of the Middle East and North African MENA diaspora that reside in Southeast Michigan. It is estimated nearly 140,000 people of MENA's descent live in Wayne County and Detroit alone, according to the United States Census Bureau data. His visit is particularly significant because Wayne County in Detroit is home to vibrant Iraqi American community, said Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, who met with al-Sudani. Tens of thousands of Iraqi Americans have established themselves here, contributing to the thriving local culture and embodying the spirit of the American dream. So that's why some of our friends from Detroit were on Twitter, on X, saying they're celebrating ahead of Victory Day, which is tomorrow, December 10th, in the streets and in certain mosques and certain places in Detroit, Michigan. Who would have known? Because al-Sudani visited them, and because they're from Iraq, they know. Well, al-Sudani on his visit also strengthened his ties and relationship with the administration here in America. And that's why he made a visit to Washington on April the 18th as well. So he talked about the payment system and making sure the payment system was in place. He talked about the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar. He talked about billionaires and businessmen here doing business in Iraq. And he talked about just strengthening relationships between Iraq and America as we move towards global peace. This global peace is a part of Project Sandman. Project Sandman was the agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, drop the United States dollar for trade and use their own local currencies backed by gold and precious metals. But the other part of Project Sandman was global peace. What was that trigger? That trigger was Vladimir Putin exposing all the stuff that was going on in Ukraine. And then that just led the number 46 to put sanctions on Vladimir Putin, which then just uncovered all the nefarious things that was going on in in Ukraine. It made people wonder what was going on with the children there, what kind of laundering of money and drugs was going on there. It turned people like I'm an independent journalist, my attention even more so to James Comer and because he's been talking about exposing number 46 for a long time, but it made me even dig a deeper digging into the evidence that he found against 46. So family, tomorrow is a day to celebrate. It is a day to be excited about and to know about, for those of you who didn't know, because our Iraqi friends will be celebrating the end of ISIS, and we will be celebrating, hopefully, Scotus overturning the Brunson case. No matter what Scotus or the Supreme Court of the United States announce, it will be their final announcement for the year. So I think that's about it, family. Iraqi Central Bank headquarters should be unveiled tomorrow, which is huge because, Iraq is one of the countries that we've been focused on and we've been looking into and we've been investigating and researching since many of you hold the Iraqi dinar. So that's about it. I love Rumble too. It just for some reason stopped working in this instance. And in the beginning, for a couple of years, I had problems getting payment for a long time. I just had many issues connecting them to my StreamYard so I can stream to Rumble while I'm streaming on other platforms. I'm sure it's just a glitch. They're Canadian owned. They're not American. So, it might be some things going on with it being an international company that's not in America. So who knows why I had a problem with Rumble for some time, but we're still going to get the news out, family. I just wanted to let you know what's been going on. Yes, think about all of the joyful frequencies that's going out all across the globe in Iraq and here in America with this celebration that's occurring, since they are commemorating the end of ISIS, and hopefully it'll be something important for us to commemorate with this final decision of the Supreme Court of the United States. Why is the Project Sandman called Project Sandman? Not only because 209 nations agreed to drop the dollar for trade and use their own currencies backed by silver, gold, palladium, platinum, and all the resources and the rare earth minerals that they discovered, but because now we're talking about your foot being on the sand or on the ground. This is a return to the laws of the land, moving away from laws of the water, admiralty law, maritime law, to the laws of the land. Hence, Sandman, Operation Sandman. This is what the Alabama Brawl was about. They were talking about the ship being docked and how Black folks they were mooring, because they are Moors. That's what they called Black folks, mooring across the shore to help the captain move the ship that was docked on the water. All this was codes being dropped to let you know that maritime law, admiralty law was being done away with in the law of the land. That's why they were mooring from the waters onto the land. They were helping this so-called captain remove the shipman's ship that was docked on the water and let the Moors come back to shore and dock their boat on the shore and thus reestablish the laws of the land, or the republic, and the constitutional law. Okay, all codes being dropped. This is why you see anything dealing with the Indians winning winning in sports, winning in, let's see, what do you call it, the Super Bowl, whether it is the Chiefs or any teams with the name of India or associated with Indians. There was a team that won over Thanksgiving. I forgot the name of the team that won, but they used to be called Indians. Any teams dealing with Indians will win, because they're letting you know that the chiefs on the land are now back in control of their indigenous governments. So they won against the eagles. The eagle is the symbol of the Roman Empire. The United States Incorporated was just an extension of the Roman Empire. That's why they had the eagle as their symbol. Well, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl because the time of the Eagles in the Roman Empire and the elite bloodline families ruling is over. And now the chiefs on the land are in control. So chiefs, Indians, anything dealing with them will win. Somebody says stop. It's true. Redskins are now commanders, right? They will win any teams that they play. The Green Bay, yes, was it Green Bay Packers? They used to be called Indians. Isn't that something? They won. And before they even won, I came on to YouTube and I told you they're going to win because they used to be called the Indian Packers. And so the deep state, the elite, they're letting you know it's over for the Eagles, the Roman Empire, the bloodline families, the so-called elite, draconians, reptilians, the non-human interdimensional beings that were the nefarious faction of them. It's over for them. And now we actually have benevolent interdimensional beings here. Some people say they are the people from Nibiru. What do you call the people from Nibiru? Who are the people from Nibiru? They're back. Can't think of their names. The Anunnaki, and some other group of interdimensional beings that I've heard that many of us are related to. They have come, the benevolent faction, to help in this fight against these interdimensional beings that had enslaved us, were doing things to our children, were doing all type of rituals. What they had to do is they had to go under the deep underground military bases, get rid of them, flood them out, rescue the children, take those interdimensional beings and the humans that were working with them, and actually put them in handcuffs or however, annihilate most of them, then send the rest of them through military tribunals. That information will come out, so I don't need to go into that. That'll come out. And some of you will meet some of the interdimensional beings that are here to help. Many of you are already contactees. You've had dreams, you've had visions, you've met face to face with some of them. They're going to come out and they're going to introduce themselves to us, family. And we'll be able to see that we're not in this battle alone. Yes, they're here. Someone says there's also the Lemurians from the island of Mu. Thank you, that are here helping us in this war. And they will then close up the portals. So they have closed up the portals so that when they got rid of them and ejected them from our planet, they closed up the portal so they can no longer come here. The ones that they allowed to escape or to go. But they've annihilated many of them. Now, this war that has occurred here, they say as above, so below, has occurred in other dimensions and on other planets. So this is not new to the interdimensional beings that are here to help us. They know what they're doing, and the war is vast. Some people say the Palladians are here. Thank you, love being Nubian. And thank you, Sister Pamela says the Andromedians are also here. Thank you. It helps me feel good that a lot of you already know what's going on. I appreciate you all so much. Imagine someone listening to any of this for the first time. I know I must sound like I'm loony, right? But this is the information that we've been told, and we've had dreams and visions about. And some of you have encountered them face to face. The Nordic Syrians are here also. Thank you, Sister Pamela. Joe Oregon Bubble says, I had a dream Howard Hughes' kids were showing me around a mansion. Then Howard pops up in a hologram and says, he will help with my project Odin. Wow. So, when we're dreaming, we're actually traveling and we're experiencing being awakened in another dimension or on another level. They say we are operating in many different dimensions at the same time. So thank you for showing us that. I know it sounds crazy, Marcy. Let's see. The Lyrans are here. Wow. Thank you, Jeffrey. That's awesome. Who else? The Tartarians. How exciting. Billy says, do some research on Mount Shasta and Mu. I appreciate that. The people that aren't awake will be awakened soon, because this information will come out for the masses to see and to hear. So that's about it, family. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all for lending me your ear, for giving me your time and your energy. And for all of you that bless me with a Cash App, you can, and if you care to, you can bless me at $ Mama Kia 13. For all of you that have done that, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I want to wrap up because I've been on for over an hour. Thank you so much. God bless you and heaven smile on you. Before I wrap up, though, I do want to answer some questions because I saw somebody say something about currency. Let's see. Vladimir Putin just released the Tartarian files. Wow. I didn't know that. Thank you. You can still buy currency. Yes, still buy currency, family. They think you're nuts also, Marcy. You're on information overload. I understand, Brother Larry. Let me wrap this up because that was a lot. If you want to get a hold of Rod Steele, I want to give you his Twitter account because I've had so many email and I have forwarded all your email, family, but I'm not answering any more email right now. I'm going to take a break, but I'm going to give you Rod Steele's email. His Twitter account right here, so you can contact him. And he has gotten back with a lot of people, but remember, he's cancer free now, but he's still kind of weak and sick. So it's going to take time. He's trying to get his testosterone levels up and his energy up and his health back up to par. Is not 100% at all by any stretch of the imagination. But this is where you can contact him if you want to have a consultation about the foreign currency exchange. He is at Patriot Rod Steele. There are some fake ones, under his name. So this one has 37.1 thousand followers. So let me put this in the chat for you. Please contact him. And for all of you who have done private trust with Chief Mac, he told me to let you all know that he has finished most of the private trust that will allow you to operate outside of the jurisdiction of the United States Incorporated. He's finished with most of them. And even though he's done his part in giving you the copy of that, the foreign EIN number, that's just for those of you who want to do that, takes some time to come to you. So please be patient and know that you will get that foreign EIN that will allow you to operate outside the jurisdiction of the government of the United States Incorporated. But it takes time, family. So that's what Chief Mac wants me to let you know. Rod still wants me to let you know that he's getting through with all of your requests for consultation, and it's his great pleasure to do so. Billy says, from what I understand, the reason you have 23 different chromosomes is because there are 23 different entities that has something to do with man's creation. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. You're yes, just purchase the currencies, family, the ones that we named, and people will put that in the list. You can also go to, somebody says Banknote World for those currencies, as well as eBay, Treasury Vault. Who else? Some of them are on Amazon, safedinar.com, and just Google where to buy some of these currencies. Hussein era currency. You heard there are two different things. You heard two different things about the Iraqi dinar, which currency to get. Sister Pamela says, you're so awesome. We're truly grateful for you, Mama Kia. Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, Chief Faya Wata says, I was in Mu. Hi, Chief. Nice to meet you. I'm so honored to have you here. Let me get this off. Stop sharing here. We appreciate your presence. We always appreciate when someone from the indigenous tribes come to share information just for your energy. God bless you. Have a smile on you, or bless you, I should say. And may the Most High grant you with long life, prosperity, and peace. And may the Most High bless all of you with prosperity and abundance in this year, very, very quickly and very, very soon. You're welcome, Sister Yavana. Chief Fia says, I was in war and I woke up with sores. Oh my God. Yeah, it's something you can go in a battle in your dreams. You can go under experimentation. I've had dreams where I saw these interdimensional beings. That's the only thing I can use to describe. I don't know what they were. And they were clothed a certain way, actually doing things to my body. And then I wake up and I'm like, is this scratch? Nah, that scratch didn't come from that. But I've actually had dreams of entities or people talking while they were doing experimentation on my body. And I don't want to sound like I'm pat myself on the back. But one time during this such dream, they were saying, wow, what a beautiful specimen. And they were touching my body and cutting my body and doing stuff. And they were like, the body, this specimen is clean inside and out. And I'm asleep, but while I'm in my dream, I'm halfway awake and I can hear them talking. When I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, was that just a dream? What's happening here? But I'm hearing that. And you all know that when we're in our dreams, we're actually traveling through the different dimensions. And some of us, they say, go on the ships. Now, I've never seen a ship in my real awakened life, so I don't know what they look like. But I've heard these type of things, family. You're on information overload. What else? Mama Kia. Oh, that the Lord may bless you indeed and enlarge your territory. Rebuke the enemies in the name of Yeshua. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Greetings to you all, family. We've been on here for 1 hour and 18 minutes. I don't want to bore you, family, but I wanted to see if I had any questions to answer. Somebody says, Chief has been putting out great videos. Is that Chief Mac? If you're talking about Chief Mac, you can find him on Facebook at Judah Allen or Allen Judah, one of those. And he also has a Allen Judah and a Chief Mac YouTube account. He has been putting out some videos about certain buildings that were built by people from, long ago, from the Moors, the Lemurians, and giants, and all type of information he comes up with, because he actually does research in that area. He talks about pyramids and all kinds of things, family. Oh, Rumble would not load or play for over a week on my PC. Thank you, Joe. Reality says, please continue using Pig Latin. I hate when you get banned. Okay, I will. I will. Rumble is up again. Thank goodness. Oh, yay. Let me see. Let me see if I can. Is my Rumble video up again? I can't connect it, so I'm hoping it's running. So, family, thank you so much for joining me. I don't want to keep you on. Somebody says Rumble came back up. Thank God. All right. Where do we watch the announcement about Scotus? I'm not sure. I'll research that. And when I hear it, I'll come live and let you all know what this last and final announcement by the Supreme Court of the United States for the year is. So that's it, family. That's a lot. Somebody said you're on information overload. I feel you. I am too. I'm getting tired. I'm getting hungry, but I always get excited. I want to come on to let you all know information as soon as I hear it. I don't report every day as I probably should, but if I don't have anything to say, I try not to just come on here to rumble. I want to, ramble, excuse me. I want to give information that can inspire you, encourage you, and to give you the strength and the joy to go on, because we're in a new era. This is the age of Aquarius. This is the golden era. It is our time. We chose to come here, they say. We were born to be here, at a wonderful time to come help uplift humanity and to help humanity with our projects, family, because you guys know that many of you will become extremely wealthy. Before Nasar and Jasara happens, a lot of you will revalue or exchange your currencies, your Vietnamese dong, your Iraqi dinar, your Indonesian rupee, your Indian rupee, your Afghanistan Afghani, your Zimbabwean Zim. If I've forgotten something, put it in the chat so our family and friends can see. You will when those rates return and the rates have been reinstated based on the resources that the countries have back in those currencies, then you can go to the exchange centers or the wealth management centers and get the new exchange rate and do very, very well. So some say before Nasar and Jasara, we're going to be wealthy. We're going to be able to clean the water, build infrastructure all over the globe, and we'll have wealth to take care of our family members, build up our neighborhoods, family, and do amazing things for humanity. LRJJ Wells says, Wise International account revaluation of the dinar, VND, and the IDR. I think she says you can go to Wise, you can download Wise on your computer or your phone, or just go to Wise International and they will show you some revaluation numbers for the Vietnamese dong and the Iraqi dinar. So love and light to you all, family. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Lindia. Is it Lindy or Linda for sending me a Cash App blessing? God bless you. Heaven smile on you is my prayer. I always appreciate you guys here when you bless me with a Cash App, or you send me a prayer, or you just show up, family, and encourage me and listen to the information that we give. Philip says, buy the Iraqi dinar after Hussein and later. Thank you for that information. We need this wealth, family. So many of us have been suffering for a long time. Ellen Moody says, thank you, Dr. Kia. You so much have an amazing night. Thank you. God bless you as well. The Venezuelan Bolivar, that's the one I forgot. And 100 million digitales, Frankie says you should get. And I will look for where this announcement is going to come from the Supreme Court. But again, if you're just checking in, tomorrow is Tuesday. Tuesday is a day of war. It's a day of announcements. Many people fear Tuesdays. They dread it, but others celebrate it because it's a day of announcements. And a day of war doesn't mean a bad thing. Sometimes you have to have war to get rid of your enemies. So Tuesday is named after the god Tyre, I think it is, the god of war. It's a day of major announcements. December 10th in particular is the day that Iraq would celebrate getting rid of ISIS out of their country. ISIS had overtaken their nation, took over at least 1/3 of the country, done some very bad things in their country, but they got expelled. And now they're going to celebrate. They celebrate every year throughout all their generations. They were commanded to celebrate. And tomorrow is that great day for the Iraqi people. They're already celebrating in Detroit because there's a huge population of Iraqi citizens that are now Iraqi Americans in Detroit. And remember, Al Sudani visited Detroit when he came here in April of this year. Also, tomorrow we should hear the final announcement of the Supreme Court of the United States. This is just, if you're checking in, I want to go over that information again. And we're hoping that is the announcement that the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, who happen to be trumpet players. Remember, Trump is not by happenstance that they are trumpet players, as in Donald Trump, as in he is the Trump card, as he is the Trump against the deep state, as he is trumping over all those people that have enslaved us. Whether you believe that he's doing it or not, just know that the Grand Army of the military that's behind him is doing it. The military is in control. They're using the Trump avatar, the Trump name, the Trump energy to trump and take down the deep state. Okay. Billy says, one thing to always remember with great wealth. With great wealth comes great responsibility. It is required for everything you do that make sure you do good and make sure you choose wisely. Thank you, Billy. And as a matter of fact, our new quantum accounts are sentient. They can sense your energy. They can sense your motive. So you want to make sure you have good intentions as you use this money and trade this money from your new accounts that each of you will have. Because anybody that tries to do anything nefarious, like dealing with children or drugs or laundering or dealing with human trafficking or any crimes against humanity, your wealth will be frozen and you won't have access to it. What did you miss? Well, you just missed that tomorrow is a great celebration day. It is Victory Day for the Iraqi citizens. They're celebrating the end of ISIS that was in their country, and they celebrate this every year. So we're bringing it up because it's tomorrow, and it's also the time for us that the Supreme Court of the United States will make their final announcement, and we're hoping they'll make their announcement that they've heard the Brunson brothers case against 46, being Biden and Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and 385 members of Congress. If in fact it is found that they were guilty in that fraud that happened in 2020, then that whole administration will be found null and void. They have to be dismantled and they will have to step down. All their credentials will be stripped. They will go through military tribunals, which many of us know that it actually happened behind the scenes a long time ago, but this information just now will come out for the people that didn't know about it, because most of the people that are in charge right now are wearing masks. The old ones have been dealt with. We've even seen some of the death certificate and announcements of like Biden that he was taken out in 2018. So, but if this, with the Supreme Court making this last ruling, and we're hoping that it's about the Brunson brother case, then we now can see military tribunals happen in the open, officially and in public, because this revolution will be televised. And we're hoping for an emergency broadcast system announcement. But whether or not that happens, President Trump can then move forward, as well as the military, making announcements that we've been set free, we're liberated from the deep state or those bloodline families. And they can also announce Nasara. Also, this is a time where many of you who are holding currencies will be able to get your wealth by exchanging those currencies for the new rates. How we'll find out that information, we're not sure. We've heard we'll get email. We heard people will speak in code. We heard they'll let us know through some of the newsletters, like the Iraqi. There are Iraqi newsletters. What are the Iraqi newsletters? Let me see if I can find them for you right quick, because you want to register for these. Is it Iraqi Chronicles? Let me see. Hold on, family. I'm gonna see if I can find this for you. Iraq. What is this Iraqi? There's an Iraqi newsletter, a couple Iraqi. So I am signed up from some business news that comes straight out of Iraq, but they're Dinar Chronicles. That's it. Dinar Chronicles is one. Google Dinar Chronicles and sign up for their newsletter, because you should hear some stuff from them. Dinar Recaps is another one that you can sign up for, their newsletter, and get information about the Iraqi dinar and when it's time to exchange. Pamela says today is 369, kind of like 396, powerful numerological day. I didn't know that. Thank you for letting us know. I'm going to have to look more into that. There's no 2022 Iraqi dinar. I don't know about that, but you can still get dinar from safedinar.com. eBay has some, and just Google where to get it from. May tomorrow be the best days of our lives. So uncirculated means that the currency has not been used. You can use a black light to verify the bills, Philip says. You'll see it. Uncirculated means they haven't been used. Circulated means that the bills have been used. I've been told it doesn't matter if the bills are circulated or uncirculated. All of them are relevant and can be used in the exchange. That's what I've heard. You're welcome. Billy says, thank you, Dr. Kia, for letting me voice my opinion. Absolutely. All of your opinions matter, family. 369 are Tesla numbers. Kentucky is sending me love. Thank you, Golden Arrow. You know, that's where I raise my babies, my children. What happens to the labor industry? Only people, everybody will have money, but particularly people 21 and over will have money. And then, you know, we're having new freedom cities. If you heard Trump talk about the freedom cities, they actually kind of look like space. Like, I cannot think of that cartoon we used to watch back in the day where robots were kind of running things. You know, you do have Chat GPT, you have AI, you have robots. When I was at the airport, I saw robots cleaning the airport. When we went out to dinner, robots brought my grandchildren food. It's crazy. We're moving into the Jetsons. Remember in the Jetsons, the robots were doing all type of things. Maybe that's what we're looking for. President Trump talked about freedom cities where we're going to have flying cars and, you know, how new technologies. We also know through Nasara and Dasara, new technologies that have been hidden from the public will now be released. So that's a good question. We will see what happens, family, in this new era. Yes, the Jetsons into which we're going. People that are using my image and my name and tell you to sign up for a QFS and using some of the other podcasters or public figures' names, Patriot Rod Steele, they're using all type of public figure names and independent journalists' names, saying, you call me or contact me and you pay me and I'll help you set up a quantum financial account. That's not us. That's not us. People are making names with these fake accounts. I have fake YouTube, fake Rumble accounts, fake accounts all over social media where people is making money using people are making money using my image. Do not send anybody money for a QFS account, please. It's most likely fake, okay? Don't do it. There's nothing you need to do. They will be set up for you on your behalf. Or if you need to set it up, you'll do it at a wealth management system. Don't fall for these people, please. Yes, the Jetsons. Yes. So that's it, family. I love you all so very much. You're welcome, Clifton. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Good night, family. Go out and make this a great night. And let's have great expectations for tomorrow being Victory Day and a day of a wonderful, wonderful celebration. I'll talk to you later. I love you so much. Bye-bye. Take care. See you soon.